Picture this, a legendary killer who has repented and started a family, but one day he comes home to find his wife murdered, with a message left for him on the wall, in her blood. In response, he burns his entire life to the ground and takes his 12-year-old daughter with him on a bloody quest for revenge. This is a story where a little girl has to learn how to fake her tears, how to shoot, and in the end, well, I won't spoil the ending. Stick with me as we break down the brutal revenge of Colton Briggs. Hello, it's Red Recap speaking. Today I will be giving a rundown of the movie, The Old Way, which was released in 2023. Please note that there will be spoilers in my review. Without further ado, let's dive into the film. The movie kicks off way back in 1898 in Montana. We meet this guy, Colton Briggs, who used to be a famous gunslinger until his wife, Ruth, convinced him to settle down. Now he's just a regular family man, running a small general store and raising their 12-year-old daughter Brooke. One morning, Ruth is totally swamped with chores and asks Colton to take Brooke to school. He's not into the idea at first, grumbling that it's not a man's job, but Ruth insists he needs to spend more time with their daughter, so he finally gives in. While they're walking, Brooke asks if they can just ride the horse, but Colton says they don't have time to go back for it. When they get to the schoolhouse, it turns out class is cancelled anyway, because the teacher's sick. Colton tells Brooke to just head home by herself, but she reminds him that her mom would have a fit, so he ends up taking her to his store. At the store, a super talkative customer named Jeff comes in, and you can tell Colton is annoyed but trying to hide it. After a bunch of pointless chatter, Jeff finally says he needs some flour. While Colton goes upstairs to get it, Jeff tries to sneak a few jelly beans, but he doesn't see Brooke watching him. He gets totally red-faced, shoves the candy back, and gives her the signal. Once he's gone, Brooke immediately tells her dad what happened and mentions how dirty the guy's hands were. Meanwhile, back at their farm, 4 shady guys on horseback show up. Their leader, James Mallister, plays it cool, saying they're lost. Ruth points them toward the nearest town, but it doesn't take long to figure out they're up to no good. When they start moving in on her, Ruth makes a run for the barn with the guys right behind her. One of the goons gets nervous and wants to leave, but another one tells him to shut it. Suddenly, Ruth bursts out of the barn on a horse, trying to escape, but James just shoots the horse, sending her crashing to the ground, and they grab her. James then spots Colton Briggs on the horse's saddle and asks if she's his wife. Hearing that name, one of the other guys freaks out, realizing they've just messed with a legend. But James isn't fazed at all. He just says he and Colton have some unfinished business. So when Colton and Brooke get home, they walk into a house full of strangers. A lawman, Marshal Jarrett, steps up, and he's clearly blown away to see that the legendary Colton Briggs actually has a family. He then has to deliver the devastating news. Ruth was murdered by those men. Colton is completely shattered and insists on digging his wife's grave all by himself, refusing any help from the marshal's men. While he's doing that, Jarrett tries to comfort Brooke. He tells her he knew her dad a long time ago, and that he was the coldest killer he'd ever met. He says her mom was a miracle worker for turning him into a good family man. Brooke just quietly says she's never even seen her dad hold a gun, and then asks if he can still be a good person without her mom around. The marshal has no idea how to answer that. After Colton finishes burying Ruth, Jarrett warns him not to let Brooke see the absolute horror show inside the barn. Colton, full of rage, demands to know the killers' names and where they were headed. But Jarrett refuses, saying that the world is a better place without the old Colton Briggs coming back. He reminds Colton that his daughter needs a father, not a vengeful gunslinger, and promises that his posse will catch the guys and see them hang. Of course, as soon as the lawmen leave, Colton goes straight into the barn. He finds a bloody handprint on Ruth's saddle and then spots a chilling message scrawled on the wall in his wife's blood. "I owe you more." That night, Colton pulls out his old guns from a hidden box. He's in a really dark place, and for a terrifying moment, he actually points one at his sleeping daughter. But she stirs just enough to mumble, "Mama wouldn't like you pointing a gun at me." That snaps him out of it, and he puts the gun down. Later, he wakes Brooke up and tells her to get ready to leave. Before they go, he sets their house and the barn on fire, burning everything to the ground. As they're riding away the next day, Brooke asks why he destroyed their home. He tells it that there's no going back now, but he promises that once he's finished, he'll build her a new life and replace everything they lost. She just replies sadly, "Except Mama." A little while later, they stop to rest. Colton lays down the rules. They'll only sleep and eat for 30 minutes every 4 hours. Brooke complains that the bad guys will get farther away, but he explains that it's no use chasing them if they show up half-dead on exhausted horses. While all that's happening, Marshal Jarrett and his crew are tracking the bad guys through a canyon. He's talking to his deputy Mark about how weird it is that Brooke hasn't shed a tear over her mom. Mark just figures she's either in shock or maybe too young to really get what happened. Just then, out of nowhere, James and his gang start shooting at them from the hills, taking out a few of the marshal's men. James actually thinks Colton is with the lawman, so he tells his goons they'll know Colton when they see him, and then they pull back. Over on their side of the canyon, Colton wakes Brooke up, telling her he heard the gunshots about 10 minutes ago. When she asks why he didn't wake her up right away, he's super chill about it, basically saying, "No need to hurry, they'll figure out soon enough who they're messing with." Meanwhile, James is furious with one of his guys, Boots, for starting the shootout too soon. Their whole plan was to take out the marshal first, but Boots messed it up and gave the lawman time to take cover. Later, Colton hears a single horse coming their way, and his first thought is just to kill the rider and take his horse. But Brooke speaks up, saying her mom would hate that, and what if it's one of the good guys? She asks him if there isn't a better way. Colton thinks for a second, and agrees, telling her to distract the rider by pretending to cry. When she says she doesn't know how, he gives her this really harsh talk, saying she needs to learn how to do stuff like this if she wants to survive. So, she manages to squeeze out some tears, even though she's totally numb inside. The rider turns out to be the wounded deputy Mark. The second he gets close, Colton pulls a gun on him. Using Mark as bait, Colton manages to trap Marshal Jarrett and another injured guy named Greg. He has Brooke ask Greg for his gun, but Greg gets all tough and threatens to blow her brains out. As he's waving his gun around, Brooke, out of nowhere, stomps hard on his injured leg. He yells and drops his gun, and she snatches it right up. After Colton ties them up, Jarrett is like, "Look, I get why you're doing this, but you're making a huge mistake messing with the U.S. Marshal." Colton just shoots back that Jarrett is the one who lied by hiding the killer's names. Jarrett warns him that if anything happens to his men, he'll hunt Colton down personally. To finally get the information he needs, Colton pretends he's about to hurt Mark, which finally makes Jarrett talk. He tells him the leader's name is James Mallister, and he's got 3 other guys with him. So, Jarrett spills the beans. Apparently, the ringleader, James, promised his buddies a cut from a hidden lockbox if they helped him bust out of prison. Now they're heading to a town called Santa Rosa in Colorado to meet up with some girl. Then, in a super intense move, Colton decides to teach Brooke a lesson. He performs surgery on the deputy's gunshot wound right there on the trail. He digs the bullet out of the guy's arm and then sears the wound shut with a hot piece of iron, explaining to Brooke that the bullet was poisoning him. Brooke's reaction is weird. She just wrinkles her nose at the smell of burning skin and says it reminds her of her mom's rabbit stew and that it's making her hungry. Done with the lesson, Colton turns back to Jarrett and warns him that if he was lying about any of that information, he'll hunt them down and kill them all. He then takes their horses, but insists he's not a thief. He'll leave the horses tied up for them in Santa Rosa. Meanwhile, we see James actually making good on his promise. He and his crew dig up the lockbox, but when they open it, it's just stuffed with old Mexican money, which is basically worthless. When the guys start complaining, James has to pull a gun on them, saying that if he really planned to cheat them, they'd already be dead. He tells them to just lay low for a year, and promises the money is still enough for them to live like kings. When someone asks about Briggs, James just smiles and says, "We don't have to chase him, Briggs will come to us," hinting that it's all part of his plan. Soon enough, the gang gets to Santa Rosa and settles in. One of the guys is nervous about the sheriff, but James explains he's already cut the telegraph line, buying them about 4 days before word gets out. He sets up a guard rotation, with his men taking turns watching in 4-hour shifts. That night, while they're resting by the fire, Colton and Brooke have a really deep conversation. She asks him if her mom really did change him. Colton opens up, admitting that he used to be completely cold and emotionless, He didn't even cry at his own mom's funeral. But meeting Ruth woke something up in him: fear. He was terrified of losing her and of not being loved by her. It was the first time he'd ever truly loved someone. Hearing this, Brooke quietly confesses that she felt nothing when her mom died. Just emptiness. Colton comforts her, telling her that a part of him died that day, too, and that the pain is something that never goes away. When she asks who this James Mallister guy is, Colton admits he has no idea. Then, Brooke looks at him and asks him to teach her how to use a gun. Colton agrees to teach her. The next morning, they're out practicing with a rifle, but Brooke can't hit a thing and asks for a pistol instead, thinking it'll be easier. When they get near Santa Rosa, Colton scopes out the town and realizes there's only one road in. He knows James will have lookouts watching for him. The problem is, they know what he looks like, but he has no idea what they look like. Brooke comes up with a smart plan: she should go in alone. Since they don't know her, she can act as his eyes and ears. Following her dad's plan, Brooke rides into town, heads straight for the store, buys some supplies, and then casually asks the owner if any other riders have come through recently. But the second she steps back outside, bam! James and his whole crew are waiting. They recognize the saddle on her horse. They grab her and drag her into the saloon. Inside, James offers her some food. She refuses, of course, and then tells his guys, Boots and Eustace, to go set up an ambush for her dad. With Brooke as his captive audience, James finally spills the beans about why he's so obsessed with Colton. He tells her that 20 years ago, his dad, a notorious bandit, tried to stop his own brother from being executed. A huge shootout broke out, and his dad was killed. The only people left alive were a very young James and Colton Briggs, who apparently just got on his horse and rode away like nothing happened. And while he's telling this whole tragic backstory, he's secretly stuffing the lockbox with newspaper and hiding the real money in his saddlebags. Outside, one of the goons spots Colton approaching and ducks into a building to get the drop on him. But Colton totally saw it coming. He sneaks in right after him and takes him out with a knife. Soon after, he gets into a gunfight, taking down Boots but catching a bullet from Eustace that grazes him. Seeing things go south, James drags Brooke outside, using her as a human shield. Eustace brags about shooting Colton, and James sends 2 more guys to capture him alive, but Colton easily kills them both. James yells out, challenging Colton to finish things the old way, while Eustace keeps his gun pointed at Brooke. Wounded, Colton steps out. James asks if he finally remembers him, but Colton has no idea who he is. Clearly stunned, James gives him an impossible choice: either shoot him, which will cause Eustace to kill Brooke, or just stand there and die. But Colton makes his own choice. In a flash, he shoots Eustace, freeing Brooke. In that same split second that Colton frees Brooke, James fires his own gun, hitting Colton square in the chest. As James is soaking it all in, gloating about how he just killed the legendary Colton Briggs, he completely forgets about Brooke. Big mistake. Seeing her dad fall, Brooke grabs his gun from the dirt. She avenges him right then and there, putting 2 bullets into James, one in the chest, and a perfect shot, right between the eyes. In his last few moments, Colton pulls out the locket he always carries, the one with her mother's picture inside, and gives it to Brooke. He whispers that her mom will always be there to guide her. And with that, he's gone. Brooke finally breaks down, weeping over her father. Sometime later, Marshal Jarrett and his posse show up to deal with the aftermath and collect the bodies. One of his men finds the lockbox in the saloon, but of course, James's saddlebags, stuffed with the real money, go completely unnoticed. Jarrett, thinking he's being clever, makes a deal with Brooke. He'll officially report that her dad died a hero, taking down the whole gang. In exchange, he gets to confiscate the gang's money from the lockbox, never realizing it's just full of worthless newspaper. As Jarrett and his men ride off, satisfied with their version of the story, Brooke calmly asks a woman nearby to go fetch James's saddlebags from inside the saloon. And as the woman goes to get them and the real fortune hidden inside, Brooke just smiles. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you want to watch more videos like this. Thanks and see you again soon. Take care.